Yeah, so we just wrapped up a meeting of the Frankfort Township Democrats. We invited school board candidates to come speak, and they were across the aisle. There were Democrats and Republicans running in this race. I think it's very important, especially in an organization of this size, of civic-minded folks and politically active folks, to hear from the candidates themselves, to be able to make a more informed opinion. And so we did this last week with the Summit Hill candidates as well. We also had the mayor of Frankfort come and speak to us last week, but we're going to try to get more involved. We're going to try to invite as many candidates as we can to come speak in the future. I know the race is in 2 weeks. We don't have any meetings between now and then, but you'll be hearing from us in the next 2 years. Elevator pitch. They're going to tell you a little bit about their background, who they are, why they're running, why you should vote for them. They'll probably talk about the literature that they have brought or the signs that they've brought. Our goal with this kind of meeting is to give these introductions, and we want to try to end the meeting as quickly as we can, around 8. So we've got a half hour, 45 minutes that we can actually talk to the candidates more one-on-one and get to know them a little bit better. Want to keep this to 3 minutes. So I will ask for any volunteers. Anybody want to go first? Okay.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. My name is Carley, and I'll tell you a little bit, as fast as I can, I'll try to tell you a little bit about me and why I'm running and why I think I'll be good for the board. So my journey started about 1.5 years ago. My daughter came home. She was upset because the theater program was on pause because there was an issue with a teacher. And so that was my first experience watching a board meeting. And so the first board meeting I watched, there were community members and people there in support of this teacher. And it appeared a little chaotic, but that's what got me involved. Shortly after that, we got the email that the superintendent was going to be resigning. And so that caught my attention, and I started wondering, like, what is going on? You know, why are people leaving? And so I wanted to find out more, so I started talking to people, parents, board members. I called the past superintendent, and, you know, much to my dismay, I'm led to believe that there's some issues on our board. And so I decided that I would talk to my family and get out there, and what I think I will bring is the leadership that the board I think is lacking, or maybe like teamwork that is missing. How many people have been to a board meeting in here? Okay. If you've ever been like a manager or a leader, you're pretty in tune to like group dynamics. And so I think if you've seen one, if you haven't, Israel has recorded one from last month, I think you'll see the group dynamic. And so I just think there's something that's off, and I think that I could bring my experience, which is in leadership. I have a master's degree in organizational leadership, which is all about improving healthy workplace culture. Actually a lot of my classes back then were around teamwork, critical thinking, group dynamics, servant leadership. And so I was able to then put that into play into the job I had at the time, which was an administrator at Trinity Services. It was a social service agency. I was in charge of the behavioral health department. I ran a residential program, 20 group homes, 3 apartment complexes, 3 community support teams. Sorry if you can't hear me. I was in charge of transportation, billing, the office staff. So I was in charge of everything. So I was in charge of making sure these teams were working together. We were getting things done. We were meeting outcomes, all for the mission of the organization. And so I had that experience for about a decade. I left, got into foster care. Now I'm helping kids, assessing their needs, their strengths, their weaknesses, matching them to foster homes, assessing their strengths, their weaknesses, their parenting style, trying to get the best possible match for those kids so that they can be set up to succeed. And then I'm adding whatever services they need, whether it's therapy, school help, mentoring. So everything I've done in my professional life is similar to what happens at a school. And so I really think that I would benefit the board by my professional experience. And then, of course, I think that besides that, I guess my fear is if the same people stay on, that we might see people leaving still. And we've had a lot of superintendents in the past 5 years. And so I would really want to set up the new superintendent to be successful. And so I would create that positive organizational culture. I would be there to hopefully help him in that role so that we can hold on to him and do the things that we need to do for our kids. So I would be willing to do that for him. I would be willing to do that for my Kaylin, where it all started, your kids, the families, the staff. I'm willing to do that for you. So please vote for me. Thank you very much.
Could you repeat your name one more time?
Katie Carley.
Thank you.
Yes. Sounds like a cheerleader. Really easy to remember, hopefully.
Thank you, Katie.
Under 3 minutes? Felt like 5.
Anyone want to go next? Jen?
Hi everyone, I'm Jen Francis. Thank you for having me. For those of you that I haven't met, I will share a little bit about my background, why I got started attending school board meetings, and then what prompted me to actually want to run. So professionally, I spent about 25 years in retail. If you've ever visited an American Girl store, I was the director of retail for American Girl Chicago. Thank you. So I did that. I started off, my first job was in Orland Square Mall, and I worked my way up the corporate ladder and landed on Michigan Avenue and spent about a decade running the American Girl portfolio in the Midwest. As you can imagine, it's a 52,000 square foot store. I had probably 1,000 employees during the summer and peak. I worked with all different backgrounds. I had about 42 direct reports, and just the Chicago store alone, the budget was over $50 million that I was directly responsible for overseeing, which included payroll, all the good stuff. During that time, I struggled to conceive a baby, and my father-in-law, in the midst of Thanksgiving dinner, said, "You should really quit your job and come work for our family's insurance agency." And I was like, "Now is not, tomorrow's Black Friday. Like, this is the biggest day of the year. And you're trying to tell me to quit my 25-year career." And I was like, "Get out of here." And of course, it's Thanksgiving, and people are like, "Why are we talking about business?" And I'm like, "I'm not trying to talk about business." But that was very pivotal. I basically did an entire reset. That January, I said, "I'm done." I said goodbye to retail, and then I joined the family agency, where I got licensed in all lines of insurance. I went on to have a baby, so that's the best part of this whole story. My daughter is 5. If you do the math, she was a COVID baby. This week actually marks the anniversary of when I returned from maternity leave, and that's when Pritzker shut everything down. So we had some struggles. She went through the early intervention process. We then transitioned at the age of 3 into the elementary school. She has some developmental delays, so we have been in the special ed community for the last probably 4 of the 5 years of her life. So here's me as a mother, my one and only child. My child was nonverbal. At 3 years old, I handed her off to a stranger on a cold January day at MES. And I was like, I've never seen the classroom. I met the teacher during an evaluation, but I had no idea what was going to happen for my child. I would get a little note like this that she played with her friends and all of this stuff. During that 2 years, I discovered that my child was being changed on a table in the open kindergarten bathroom. And I know that sounds like a minor thing, but if you saw it, you would understand my frustration. I went to the finance committee meeting that September of 2023. First time I ever walked into a meeting and said that the topic is special ed. I'm here because I'm asking you to fix this issue as a parent because my child is being changed, exposed to anybody that walks in. And after that meeting, I was pulled aside by the superintendent, and they told me, "We're just going to modify her IEP." The reality was there's two other classrooms, they're called the Early Start. They are funded primarily by grants through the government. However, her class, the special ed classroom, is funded by the district. Before we had started our journey at the district, the admin at 159 told us they were equal in nature. If one classroom got one thing, the other classroom would get the other. So we felt confident in our decision that we were comfortable putting her in the special ed classroom, and that couldn't be further from the truth. The two Early Start classrooms got a makeover that incorporated a bathroom in the classroom that is fundamental for those going through toilet training skills. My child was nonverbal, had to push a device, indicate she had to go to the bathroom, and walk further past that exit sign to the kindergarten bathroom where she was then changed on the table. So I had spoke to the superintendent, spoke to 3 different directors of student services in the last 2 years, principals, you name it. For 2 years, we could not get anything done. I was like, I will pay for it, give us a curtain, give us something. It took me running for school board and doing a post on Facebook for the school to actually give us some sanitary paper. We now have a privacy screen in the bathroom. It should not have to come to that. But that was the foundation. She's the reason. But then I've attended every school board meeting for 2 years, with the exception of one. We had a date with Sesame Street. And I sat there and I'm like, if the school is telling me they can't do anything about my situation, where's the money going? So then my background in business, I started thinking, well, where are we budgeting? Oh my goodness. So yes, so we'll talk later. Part 2 later.